Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 42. As you might have guessed, today's video will be focused on finishing the new farm. We are in desperate need of more workers, especially around Mikhailovia, so the sooner we get it done, the sooner we can start adding more houses. Speaking of, instead of sitting idle while our newly expanded construction industry works on that, I will also lay the foundations for the new expansion in our second town. Since we finished building the roads and bridges connecting it to the other side of the rail tracks, we are ready to at least start planning. Of course, that's as far as we will take things today. We have a lot, and I mean a lot of building to do, and we will only manage to finish about a third of all the remaining constructions. The new steel mill will still be in the queue by the end, and we will barely start working on the meat producing part of the farm. But hopefully, we can keep ourselves busy. There isn't much we can do right now, except letting our vehicles do their job. I will periodically come back to make sure things go as fast as possible. I finally remembered that I still have a couple stray gravel textures and a bit of grass left on these tracks. We managed to box in the passenger station in Alexandrograd, so we need to make some small changes to fix it. That should do nicely. I also noticed that the substation in the middle was just barely out of range for one of the conveyor towers, so we better fix that. We only need to reconnect the wires, and that part of the area is done. Logically, I could have routed this connection between the ore processor and the rest of the buildings, but I want to reserve that place for something else. We might as well build a proper road here. Makes it faster to build it with road vehicles, instead of just helicopters. I made an attempt to connect these electrical buildings to the rest of the roads, but gave up on it. Well, for one, I ran into a problem in the end with the slopes, and second, with helicopters doing fire duty, it wasn't really necessary. To make sure that our road-based construction offices can reach this place, I will need to connect it to the rest of the network. For now, simple gravel roads will be enough. Over time, I will upgrade it to asphalt, but it's mostly aesthetic. Alexandrograd will be a train-only area. We will need some way for workers to get up to the mines. For that, we will need 2 cable car stations. Sadly, no matter how hard I tried, the 2 mines are just barely too far apart to allow a drop-off in the exact middle to reach either of them. Even with perfectly straight slopes to minimize distances, it was just a couple meters too long. So, we will need to double it up. As I said, I will periodically come back, just to make sure all new segments our trucks can reach, are fully assigned to every CO in the Republic. Nope, that slope is just too much. Better pay attention to the elevation lines. For such short distances, dirt roads are perfectly acceptable. Now we only need to place the towers, and it's ready to be built. This time, the mountainside had a way gentler slope, so it was a much less painful process to get the cables up there. The most annoying part was the fact that I was building on exposed bedrock. It took a little while to level out the places where I wanted the towers to be. And that's that. Selecting the Cable Connect tool, I don't see any open connections, meaning it's all done properly. I will need to add a turnaround somewhere further down this branch, so the track layers can reach the other side of the junction. I will deal with it later. Here, I was trying to decide if we really needed that extra connection for the second steel train that will be loading up in Alexandrograd. Ultimately, I decided that the distances are not too long, so I would rather not waste precious housing space around Mikhailovia for it. Speaking of, how about we start planning that new district now? It's long overdue, so we will start by placing those beaches on the lakeside. Almost. Extending the shore a bit further in should be enough. You know what? Might as well build 2 of them. Now, the actual housing district. Because it's on the other side of the tracks, I doubt anyone living here could reach the town center by foot. So we will need a new service hub. Which of course means a lot of level ground. I think I will try to build at least a couple apartment blocks overlooking the lake. I wasn't a fan of how there was a small secondary area name tag in Gemstonia. Moving the central label should allow us to delete the unneeded one. Ah, much better. We are starting to reach more buildings. We will definitely be ready for the next sowing season. Okay, let's see what we can do in the new district. We better start with the roads first. I don't know why I couldn't build that intersection from inside out, but could from outside in. Collisions are still very quirky sometimes. Of course, I should give our citizens a better source of culture, instead of just building an ugly cinema. Hey, the vehicle assembly plant is done. But don't get your hopes up. We will not build anything in it just yet. We will need to finish the railroad infrastructure first. We can, however, look for something to spend our dollars on. Of course, this paver is much better than the ones we use now, and the blueprints are quite cheap. I think that's the first thing we will replace when we start up production. Okay, we will need some indoor sports facility, so the indoor pool is a must. I think the original police station can reach this side of the town, so I won't build another one. As for healthcare, I could feasibly get away with another small clinic. But ultimately, I would rather not upgrade it later, so I'll just go with a second big hospital building. Ah yes, the ever-present obstacle that prevents parents from working. Childcare. Better add a kindergarten. Let's not forget about a regular school. And of course, higher education. For that, a simple small technical uni will suffice. Looking at the justice system buildings, I was curious how our prisons were doing. Thankfully, we are still not in need of a third one. And escapes are fairly uncommon. Only about one per year. I can live with that. I keep adding tourist attractions, so I will eventually reach the point where I could start placing a hotel or two, and start running a tourist train. But that's for later. For now, I'll just add this lookout tower next to the lake. Felt like a nice, scenic spot for such a building. Thankfully, people are still only complain about the usual suspects. Booze, religion, and work. I could try to improve the internal commuter network to give people better access to jobs outside of town. Once Gemstonia is complete, that should alleviate that problem at least. I think I'd rather have a nice beachside walkway, instead of connecting them straight onto the roads. We are gaining access to more and more buildings here. I'm liking our chances of finishing everything for the next sowing season. Now, let's see what we can do about the houses themselves. As usual, we are spoiled for choice. But, to break things up a bit, I think I will use smaller and less tall blocks this time. And to keep things interesting, I will orient them 45 degrees off the grid. But, as usual, I will use the grid, and the green dots on the building's footprints as handy measuring tools, to keep them evenly spaced. I mentioned at the end of the last episode, that I will try to keep them a bit more spaced. It will require a bit of extra footpathing, but I'm okay with that. Before I forget, we will need to add a bus stop. I haven't decided yet, if we will bus workers to the train station, or if I will use this part of town as its own gathering point. At this point, I was okay with building the roads, but not the buildings. We have a lot of other things to worry about in that regard. Since we have an area about the same size on the other side of the road, might as well continue placing apartments. To add a sixth one, we will need to extend this area a bit more. To make it look at least a little bit more natural, I will of course smooth the shoreline out a bit, and I will even place some trees on it. We are now at the point where we can start moving fuel to some of the buildings. With a lot of the other things close to completion, we might as well unleash the helicopters onto Alexandrograd. Good thing I checked. These clowns got in each other's way. I will assign the fields manually. It's better to divide them equally between the two. Well, it seems one or two fields got left out when placing the driveways. And that's 19 fields for one farm. The second 19 will be assigned to the other one when it's finally finished. Same as with the bread making part of the farms, I will keep returning here to keep adding CO assignments to new constructions, as the roads get built. With that truck, hopefully all of them are now the correct color. I keep coming back and finding them still sporting the default paint job. I once more catch the steel train at an opportune moment. Let's send it straight back to the mill, so it doesn't waste time going to the border without any cargo. And there's 125 tons waiting to be picked up. If the new one is half as productive as this one, I'll be happy. I can't wait to start making vehicles. One of the biggest expenses we face these days are the imported machinery. Making them at home will be a huge boon to our economy. I was a bit lost for things to do at this point, so I spent a minute or so messing with the factory connections, trying to make them look better with ground textures. I was wondering why none of the trucks in the DO responsible for resupplying the rail office were delivering steel. It was all the extra bricks. Every time the track layers leave to make a small job, they take a full load of materials, and bring back most of it. In the meantime, the DO filled it back up, and now it has way more brick than it needs, and it's taking up space that was supposed to be for steel. After deleting some of those bricks freed up room, and the trucks spring into action. I decided to give citizens a bit better access between the two districts. To achieve that goal, the most logical choice was of course a pedestrian overpass. I only needed to line up the connection points with that gap between the warehouse and the town distribution office, so I can build it there. I have no idea why it was this difficult. It was all on perfectly level ground, so changing elevations should not have been necessary. Oh well, giving it a second try fixed it. What the hell is even that? There. The game can be so fickle sometimes. You know what? Let's add 2 stairs, because why not? Nice. Only one building remains unreachable. Even that won't stay so for long. And with the appropriate DO finished, we might as well set it up as well. Wait, that's too many fields. We only need 19, so we can use the last slot for the grain silo. And that's one half of the farm ready for sowing season. Wow, a lot of buildings gained access to our construction offices. Makes me hopeful that we might be able to get this place done in time too. Anyways. We don't really need this CO around anymore, plus most of the machinery ran out of gas anyways. I keep getting traffic jam notifications for this place. When I think about it, we don't really need to keep the dirt roads clean. I think this place is a perfect spot for a solitary housing block. I was considering building a hotel here, but it would be a bit too far away from most tourist attractions. This last inaccessible building has all the materials, it only needs workers and machinery to finish. Forcing the Heli CO to work on it should finish it quite quickly at this point. We only need to unassign every other job, which will force it to send out all it has for that one construction, before the automatic assignment system adds the other jobs back to the queue. For some reason, it took a little bit for it to realize what I want it to do, but it will get on it in a second. The road going to Alexandergrad is mostly finished. It won't be long before the road COs gain access to the building, speeding things up considerably. Anyways, the Heli CO finally got around to building the last office in Gemstonia. With those 3 tower cranes, it will be done very quickly. Before I forget, we better buy the farming machinery for the 2 agro facilities. And the last piece of road is also done at the center of the farm. Let's make sure everything has fuel, vehicles, and the proper field distribution. Some of the gravel roads around the fields themselves aren't finished yet, so that will take a little bit longer. Good thing the farms can work on other fields in the meantime, so adding them later will not be a problem. I just make sure to add a completion notification to the last relevant road piece, so I will know when I can finalize everything. With the Alexandrograd road finished, we might as well get rid of these dirt connections. The new vehicle factory caught fire. And we have 6 helicopters taking off at once, trying to put it out. This kind of thing doesn't happen every day. At the very least, I can be safe in the knowledge that one of our most valuable assets are well protected. The rail tracks on this branch are almost finished. Once everything is done and dusted, I can remove the unnecessary stuff, place the signals, and start moving materials to the car factory. That little turnaround I just placed is only to give the track layers access to the other side of the meat farm's junction, so it's not permanent. Now, removing this one was a mistake however. We will need to rebuild it, so we can electrify the segments that it helped us to build before. We had a lot of fires near the end of this episode. Only goes to show how effective helicopters are at putting them out. Now, let's see what we can do in the next episode. The meat producing half of the new farm is pretty much guaranteed to be ready for sowing season. The gravel roads might take a little longer, but we have a couple fields that can be sown in the meantime, so that won't be a problem. I'm still not sure how to include a meat delivery train station though. We have a lot of room near Mutograd to do it, but now that I managed to box in the railroads around Mikhailovia, sorting that one out might be a bit trickier. As for the new steel mill, that should be ready to build at this point. The road leading to it is finished, and as far as I can tell, nothing else is missing in terms of buildings. It will of course need to be properly configured, mostly in terms of worker commuter lines, steel pickups, and the workplace assignments for the passenger station. Workers will not walk between 2 stations on their own, we will need to assign the cable cars when everything's done. Let's not forget about the new district in Mikhailovia. We can do a bit more, not to mention that it might be time to build a hotel. We have quite a few attractions littered around the city, so a centrally placed tourist accommodation might not be the worst idea. We will of course need to add a tourist train when we do. Also, we have some more room in Mutograd, next to the train station. We could keep adding houses there too. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, dropping a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. Until then, see you later.